If you think living with your parents as an adult is hard, try buying a house with them, and your husband, and raising a child under the same roof. This is the story of our three-generation home, and what really happened behind those happy family photos. Chapter 1. We bought a house together and forgot the fine print. We bought a house together. Not we, as in me and my husband. We, as in my parents, my husband and me. 4 adults, 1 mortgage, 1 big suburban house in the American dream kind of neighborhood. If you type multi-generational living in America or 3-generation home family story into YouTube, you'd probably picture something like what we thought we were signing up for. Grandparents in the kitchen making pancakes, parents laughing over coffee, kids running around the backyard while everybody helps everyone. Warm, cozy, efficient. Like a family sitcom with better lighting. For the first 10 minutes, it did look like that. We got the keys on a sunny Saturday in May. The real estate agent handed them to us with a smile and a, "Congratulations, guys! This is such a smart move. A true multi-generational home." We stood on the front porch. Me, Emma, age 33. My husband, Jake, 34. My mum, Carol, 62. My dad, Mike, 64. We looked like a real estate brochure. 4 smiling faces, 1 big 2-story house, manicured lawn, swing hanging from a tree in the front yard that promised future grandchildren playing here. We did the cheesy thing and all put our hands on the key at once. 1, 2, 3, Mum said, laughing. Miller family 3-generation home. We walked inside. New paint smell, echoey rooms, sunlight pouring into the living room. I turned in a slow circle, heart full. I thought, this is it. We beat the housing crisis. We built a 3-generation household. We're going to save money, take care of my parents as they age, and give our future kids grandparents down the hall. I also thought, what could possibly go wrong? The house was technically ours, 50-50. Half the down payment from my parents' savings, half from ours. Both names on the deed. 1 big American family, pooling resources. We moved through the rooms together, mapping it out. Primary bedroom upstairs for you 2, Mum said, pointing. Guest room next to it. The big front room downstairs will be our bedroom. That way, when we're older, we don't have to do the stairs. Fair, Jake said. And the room over the garage could be my office. And a playroom someday, Mum added, her eyes lighting up. We all pretended not to hear the someday pressure. In the kitchen, Dad opened cabinets like he was choosing where to put pots and pans. Plenty of space, he said. We can each have a pantry shelf. Maybe this side for us, that side for you. Jake and I exchanged a quick look. Your side, our side. We didn't say anything. Why would we? This was day 1 of our multi-generational living experiment. We were still high on paint fumes and possibility. It wasn't until we stepped into the living room that I heard the first tiny crack in the fantasy. This will be great as our TV room, Dad said. Big game on Sundays, everybody here. Mum nodded. I can already see the grandkids lying on the rug with their snacks, she said. I smiled. Jake didn't. Maybe we could turn that front corner into our space, he said, pointing to a little nook by the window. Like a reading corner, or where we put our TV. Dad blinked. Why would we need 2 TVs in 1 room? He asked. We'll just watch together. Sometimes we might want to watch different things, Jake said lightly. Mum laughed a little too quickly. Oh, we'll figure it out, she said. We're family. It'll be just like those cute multi-generational homes on HGTV. I felt a tiny flutter of unease in my stomach. It didn't have words yet. If it had, they might have been, who actually decides what "we" means now? We unloaded the first boxes. We ordered pizza. We toasted with cheap champagne in plastic cups. "Welcome to our 3-generation home," Mum said. We clinked cups. Jake put his arm around my shoulders. "Into my hair," he murmured, so only I could hear. "Please tell me we're going to have an actual conversation about who controls the living room." I laughed it off. "It's day 1, I whispered. "We'll talk later. Right now, let's just enjoy this." I wish I could tell you that later, when we were less tired and more sober, we sat down and had a detailed, healthy, boundaries and expectations talk about multi-generational living. We did not. We did what a lot of American families do when they move into a 3-generation house. We brought our boxes inside. We brought our histories too. We just didn't unpack those. Not yet. Chapter 2. Why we thought a 3-generation home was a great idea. To understand why 4 sane adults decided to buy a house together, you have to understand 2 things: the cost of housing where we live, the cost of aging in America. We're in a mid-sized city in the Midwest where, in theory, housing is more affordable than on the coasts. In practice, starter homes were still flying off the market for amounts that made my stomach hurt. Jake and I had been renting a 2-bedroom apartment for 5 years. We both worked full-time. I'm a social worker, he's an IT guy. And we were doing what every How to Be a Responsible Adult article told us to do: pay off debt, save for a down payment, live within our means. We were getting somewhere, slowly. Then everything hit at once. My mum's arthritis got worse. My dad had a minor heart scare. My grandmother needed assisted living. We watched my parents' savings drain faster than they expected. At the same time, our rent jumped. Again. Every time we drove past a cute bungalow with a "for sale" sign, I'd look at Jake and say, if the housing market was normal, we'd be in there by now. He'd squeeze my hand on the console and say, I know. We started Googling buying a house with parents, multi-generational living pros and cons, 3-generation home American family. Half the articles made it sound like a dream: built-in childcare, lower bills, more family time. The other half made it sound like a slow-motion car crash. No privacy, constant conflict, in-laws everywhere. We sent the links to my parents. Dad wrote back, "We should talk." We had our own version of a family meeting at their old townhouse. Mum made lasagna because, in our family, serious topics require carbs. "We've been thinking," Dad said over salad. "Your mum and I are not getting younger. The stairs are getting harder. Your grandma's situation reminded us we need a plan for our later years that isn't just hope for the best." Mum nodded. "And you two have been trying to get out of that apartment forever," she said. We thought, what if we pool our resources, buy a bigger house together, a multi-generational home, 3-generation household, the whole thing. She said multi-generational living like it was a magic spell. I pictured a big backyard, a kitchen island, kids doing homework at the table while Grandma stirred a pot of soup. Jake asked the practical questions. "How would we split the costs?" he said. "Down payment, mortgage, utilities?" 50-50 on the down payment, Dad said. "We have equity from this place, you have your savings. Then we all go on the mortgage. Split the mortgage and main bills down the middle. Food we share, maybe take turns buying groceries. And the space? Jake asked. Who lives where? You and Emma get the big bedroom upstairs, Mum said immediately. We'll take the downstairs suite. When kids come along, we're right there to help. She said it so smoothly it took me a second to realise she'd just casually placed future children in the plan like they were already on order. Jake shot me a quick look. What he didn't say out loud was, "We haven't even decided for sure if we want kids. We haven't talked to your parents about that. We haven't talked to your parents about anything that deep, ever." What I didn't say was, "If we don't do this, I don't know how we'll ever afford a house at all." Instead, I said, "It could actually work." We wrote numbers on a legal pad. We talked about shared meals and lawn care and how we decorate the porch at Christmas. We did not talk about who gets to discipline future grandchildren. What happens when Jake and my dad disagree? What happens if one set of adults wants to sell someday and the other doesn't? Those were not fun topics. This was a fun dream. 3 months later, we closed on the house. We took a picture on the porch. We captioned it on social media. We bought a house together, my parents, my husband, and me. 3 generations under one roof. Wish us luck. The comments poured in. So smart with this economy. I wish my parents would do this. Built-in babysitters. Lucky. Nobody commented, "Have you talked about boundaries?" We hadn't. Not really. We were about to learn what happens in multi-generational living when you skip that part. Chapter 3. The honeymoon period. The first few weeks were exactly like the Instagram version of multi-generational living. We called it the honeymoon period. We unpacked boxes together, we debated where to hang the TV, we argued cheerfully about paint colours. Every evening felt like a little party. Mum would call out, "Dinner!" and the 4 of us would gather around the big dining table we'd inherited from my grandparents. We'd clink glasses and say, "To the house," or "To 3 generations," or "To lower bills." We joked that we should make a YouTube channel called 3 Generation Home and film our American family drama as a sitcom. Our friends were fascinated. "You're actually living with your parents?" my co-workers would ask. "Like, on purpose?" "Yes," I'd say. "It's called multi-generational living. Very efficient. Very 2020 housing crisis." I'd talk about how my mum would bring me coffee while I worked from my new home office, how my dad and Jake were bonding over yard work, how nice it was that when I got home late from a long day at the community centre, there was already dinner on the stove. I told myself the weird moments were nothing. The way my mum would pop her head into our bedroom unannounced because I heard a noise. The way my dad turned the TV up so loud on football nights that I could hear commentary through the floor. The way Jake hesitated before coming out of our room in pyjamas, like we were at someone else's sleepover. The first real crack in the honeymoon came on a Sunday afternoon. Jake had just finished mowing the lawn. He collapsed on the couch in the living room, sweaty and satisfied. I brought him a cold drink. We flopped side by side, grateful for the air conditioning. "Movie?" he asked. "Absolutely," I said. "I vote something stupid and funny." We queued up a comedy, settled in, legs entwined, finally feeling like this living room was part of our home too. 10 minutes into the movie, my dad walked in. He glanced at the TV. "Oh," he said. "You're watching something?" "Yeah," I said. "We just started." He stood there for a second. "Well, the game starts in 15 minutes, he said. "I always watch it in here. It's tradition." Jake paused the movie. "We can watch it later," I said automatically. Jake looked at me. His face said, "Can we? Do I get a vote?" "It's fine," he said aloud, even though his jaw was tight. We can finish upstairs, I guess. Dad smiled, oblivious. Thanks, buddy, he said, settling into his favourite chair. You can join me. Family football time. We went upstairs with our drinks to our bedroom, balancing the laptop on a laundry basket. Jake hit play again. It's his house too, I said after a few minutes of tense silence. He's just used to watching there. And it's our house too, Jake replied quietly. Half the mortgage comes out of our account. But the minute he walks in, we're the ones who move. I didn't have a good answer. We finished the movie, but the easy feeling was gone. That night, as we brushed our teeth in our shared bathroom, Jake said, I feel like a guest who overstayed his welcome in his own home. I spat toothpaste into the sink. We can talk to them, I said. We'll figure out some kind of schedule or living room sharing plan. Yeah, he said. We should. We didn't. Not yet. The honeymoon can stretch a long time when you really want it to. Chapter 4. When in-laws live down the hall. You know those jokes about how tough it is to live with your in-laws? Multiply that by a mortgage and a shared fridge. Jake loves my parents. He really does. Before we bought the house, he used to say things like, Your parents are the most functional people I know. If I had to live with anyone, I'd pick them. I remind him of that sometimes. He does not find it funny anymore. The first real blow-up between him and my dad started with thermostat settings. Yes, the classic American family drama, thermostat wars in a multi-generational household. Dad liked it cooler. Jake liked it warmer. Mum and I were somewhere in between. At first, we just quietly changed the setting whenever we walked past. Then I came home one day to find a post-it note on the thermostat. Do not set below 72 without talking to Dad. Management. I peeled it off and stared at it. Management. I texted a picture to Jake. We have management now. Oh my God. That night, Jake took the note, stuck it on the fridge, and wrote under it with a pen. Management reminds everyone we pay half the bill. Love, the upstairs department. Mum tried to laugh it off. Dad did not. He pulled Jake aside later. I know you think this is funny, Dad said, but I don't want our electric bill through the roof because you're hot-natured. We're on a fixed income. We have to think about retirement. Jake, who worries constantly about money, even when he doesn't say it, snapped. And you think we're swimming in cash, he said. We're paying half the mortgage, half the bills, saving for our own future. I'm not trying to turn this into a sauna. I just don't want to freeze in my own living room. They raised their voices. I walked into the kitchen just in time to see two men I loved from two different generations staring each other down over a thermostat like it was a moral issue. We smoothed it over. We compromised on 72 during the day, 70 at night. We joked about upstairs climate versus downstairs climate, but the tension stuck. It wasn't about the thermostat. It was about control. Whose house is this? Who decides how we live in it? Living with your in-laws means your marriage is never in a closed box. It's a display case in the middle of a shared space. We argued more, Jake and I. We argued quietly in our bedroom. We argued in whispers in the car in the driveway. We argued once in the pantry when my mum was in the next room. Your parents treat this like their house, Jake said, like we're tenants. They're older, I said. They're used to being in charge. It's a generational thing. Parents and adult children under one roof is new for them too. And for us, he said, but we're the ones bending all the time. I started to see it. Little things. Mum tidying up our mail and putting it where she thought it should go. Dad, just checking in on any handyman I hired, second-guessing my decisions. It wasn't malicious, but it was constant. Jake would load the dishwasher. Mum would fix it afterwards. "We're wasting water if we run it that way," she'd say. "We've done this for 30 years. I could feel Jake deflate. One night, after a long day, we came home to find that my mum had already folded our laundry that was in the dryer. She'd even sorted my underwear. "I was just trying to help," she said when she saw my face. I went to our room and closed the door. I sat on the bed, heart pounding. Jake knocked and came in. "You okay?" he asked. "I feel like I'm 13 again," I said. "Like any time I leave anything undone, my mum is right behind me fixing it. Only now I'm in a multi-generational house and I'm supposed to be an adult." He sat next to me. "We need boundaries," he said. The word sounded big, like something you talk about in therapy, not over the mashed potatoes. "Yeah," I said slowly. "We do." We still didn't call a family meeting. Not yet. We waited for the big thing. The thing that finally pushed us from, "we can handle this," into, "if we don't fix this, we're going to blow up." The big thing turned out to be our daughter. Chapter 5. Grandparent help versus grandparent control. Our daughter Lily was born 10 months after we moved into the house. Yes, we got pregnant fast. No, it was not 100% planned. When I told my parents, my mum screamed and my dad wiped his eyes. "We built the perfect house for a 3-generation family," Mum said, hugging me. "This is what multi-generational living is for. Parents, adult children and grandkids all under one roof." Jake smiled, but I could feel his hand tighten in mine. He was happy. He was also bracing himself. Lily came home from the hospital to a house overflowing with love. Mum had stocked the freezer with casseroles. Dad had installed safety latches on every cabinet in the kitchen. There were baby gifts stacked in the living room, and a little shrine of photos on the hallway table by the end of week 2. The benefits of our 3-generation home were very real. When I went back to work, my mum watched Lily 3 days a week. We saved thousands on daycare. Lily got to grow up with her grandparents as part of her daily life. When Jake had late meetings and I had home visits for work, there was always another adult in the house. It really did look like those cute multi-generational family videos that go viral. "Living with my parents so they can help with baby." But here's what those videos don't always show. What happens when the people who help raise your child don't follow your rules? The first big fight was about sugar. Jake and I had agreed. No juice until she was at least 2. Her pediatrician backed us up. We told my parents that nicely. Multiple times. One afternoon, I came home early and walked into the kitchen. Lily, 18 months old, sat in her high chair. She had a sippy cup. She was very happy. Too happy. "Hi, baby," I said, kissing her head. "What you drinking?" She pointed at the cup proudly. "Jush," she said. I turned to my mother very slowly. "Juice?" I asked. Mum looked busted. "It's mostly water," she said. "Just a splash of juice. She was fussy. It calmed her down." "We talked about this," I said. "No juice yet." "For heaven's sake, Emma," she said, rolling her eyes. "You had juice. You turned out fine. We're not giving her soda in a bottle. It's a little apple juice." "It's not about the juice," I said, feeling my voice shake. "It's about you doing something we specifically asked you not to do with our child." "I am not just you," she said. "I am her grandmother. This is a 3-generation household. We all have a say. Actually, Jake said from the doorway, I hadn't even heard him come in, we're her parents. We have the say. Grandparents are support, not the decision makers. Mum's face flushed. Well, excuse me, she said. I only raised 2 children and kept them alive. What do I know? The conversation went downhill fast. From juice to screens to bedtime routines. We didn't do all this gentle parenting nonsense, Dad said later at dinner. We said no, you cried, and you survived. It's not nonsense, I said. It's our style. It's how we're choosing to parent, in our own home. Mum pushed her chair back. Your own home that we helped you buy, she said. The room went very quiet. Lily banged her spoon on the high chair, oblivious. There it was, the sentence that had been hovering unspoken over every conflict. Your home that we helped you buy. The financial power underneath the emotional tension. Jake's jaw clenched. Are you saying we owe you our parenting choices because you helped with the down payment? He asked. That's not what I said, Mum replied. That's what it sounded like, he said. We cleared the table in silence. That night, Jake and I argued in our room. I can't do this, he said. I can't raise our kid in a house where every parenting decision is a negotiation with your parents. I can't do this without their help, I shot back. We can't afford full-time daycare. We can't afford a house on our own in this market. Multigenerational living is the only way we're managing this American family life right now. So what, we just let them run our house, he said. No, I said. We set boundaries. The word was back, bigger now. This isn't working, I said. We can't keep having the same fight in different costumes. We need a real family meeting, a serious one, with actual rules. Jake flopped onto the bed, covered his face with his hands, and groaned. God, I hate family meetings, he said. Me too, I said. We're going to have one anyway. Chapter 6. The First Family Meeting, aka the Disaster. We scheduled the family meeting for a Sunday afternoon. We even sent a group text. Family meeting, Sunday, 3 p.m. at the dining table. Topic: living together, parenting, and house rules. Love, the upstairs department. Mum responded with a thumbs-up emoji. Dad wrote, uh-oh. Jake and I did a mini strategy session beforehand. We need to be clear, he said. Not just we feel, but we need. And we need to listen to them too. I nodded. I'll take notes, I said. Make it feel official. He grinned. Of course you will, he said. My very organised social worker wife. We sat down at the table with our coffees and our nerves. Okay, I began. Thank you for doing this. We love you. We're grateful for this house. We're grateful for your help with Lily. And also, living in a 3-generation home has been harder than we expected. Mum and Dad exchanged a look. In what way? Dad asked. Jake jumped in. For starters, he said, we need to feel like this is our home too, not just your house with extra tenants. When we're in the living room or kitchen, we shouldn't feel like we're in your way. Dad frowned. You're not in the way, he said. We've said that. I know, Jake said gently, but your actions don't always match. Like the note on the thermostat, or kicking us off the TV on game days. Mum sighed. And we feel sometimes like you're treating us like employees, she said. Or like we're on probation in our own home. Like when you correct how we load the dishwasher, or when you redo everything we do with Lily. Speaking of Lily, I said, we need to talk about parenting decisions. Things like juice and screen time. We need you to respect our rules even if you disagree. Mum crossed her arms. And we need you to respect that we are not just babysitters, she said. We are grandparents with experience and wisdom. Sometimes your rules feel like you're saying we don't know how to care for a child. I felt my face flush. I know you know how to care for a child, I said. You made me. But things change. We have new information now, new research. We're not trying to erase what you did. We're just doing some things differently. Dad held up his hands. Time out, he said. This is getting touchy. He took a breath. Maybe we should each say what we want out of this multi-generational living arrangement, he said. Big picture. Good idea, I said. I'll go first, Mum said. I still want, a 3-generation home where I get to be close to my family. I don't want to be in some condo by myself, seeing my granddaughter twice a month. I want to help. I want to be useful. She looked at me, eyes shiny. I also wanted to feel like you needed us, she admitted. Not just for money, for family. Guilt stabbed me. I swallowed. Dad spoke next. I wanted to make sure your mother and I are taken care of as we age, he said. I wanted to invest our money in something that would help you too, instead of just paying rent somewhere and then ending up in assisted living. I wanted this house to be a long-term solution for everyone. Jake nodded slowly. I wanted a chance to own a home, he said, in an economy where that felt impossible. I wanted built-in childcare so we didn't drown financially when we had kids. And I thought, we're adults. We can handle living together. We'll talk through stuff. His mouth twisted. I did not expect to feel like a guest in my own living room, he said. My turn. I wanted all of that, I said. I wanted my parents close. I wanted a house I couldn't afford by myself. I wanted Lily to grow up in a 3-generation household where she felt surrounded by love. And I wanted us to be one of those emotional family stories on YouTube where multi-generational living actually works. We all chuckled weakly. Instead, I continued, I feel like I'm constantly in the middle, between Grandma and Mum, between my husband and my dad, between old rules and new ones. I looked at each of them. I don't want to move, I said. I don't want to sell the house. I don't want us to blow this up. I want us to figure out boundaries so multi-generational living stops being chaos and starts being support. Sometimes it was productive, sometimes it was just emotional. At one point, Mum cried about feeling replaced as the mum when I became a mother. At another, Jake admitted he sometimes fantasized about renting a tiny apartment just for the two of us. Dad confessed that he sometimes missed closing the front door and knowing the only person in the house was his wife. By the end, we were exhausted. We came up with a few vague agreements. We'd try not to change thermostat settings without telling each other. Mum would text before giving Lily new foods. We'd all try to be more respectful. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't enough. We hadn't talked about space. We hadn't talked about privacy. We hadn't talked about what happens when someone says no. We'd named the problem. We hadn't solved it. That came later. After I did something very millennial, I took our multi-generational living drama to therapy. Chapter 7. Learning Boundaries the Hard Way. My friend Jenna is the one who said it. You know, multigenerational living is a whole thing therapists talk about, right? She said over coffee. 3-generation households, parents and adult children living together, in-laws under one roof. It's practically its own category. I don't need therapy, I said automatically. She raised an eyebrow. You don't, she said, but you might want it. So I went. Not because I thought my parents were terrible, not because I thought my husband was wrong, because I felt like that sandwich generation meme come to life, squished between my parents' needs and my own little family's needs, inside one big American 3-generation home. My therapist, Dr. Lewis, listened to my whole "we bought a house together, my parents, my husband and me" story. She nodded a lot. Multigenerational living can be beautiful, she said. It can also amplify every old pattern in a family system. Tell me about it, I muttered. Right now, she continued, you're trying to operate a 4-adult household on unspoken rules from when you were a teenager, plus cultural scripts about respect your elders and young people should be independent. That's a lot of mixed messages. Okay, I said. So what do we do? Move? Do you want to? She asked. I thought about it. No, I said. I want this to work. I really do. I believe in the idea of a 3-generation household. Parents, adult children, and grandkids living together, sharing resources. It's the only reason we even own a house. And I actually like being around my parents, when we're not fighting. She smiled. Then you don't need to move, she said. You need boundaries. There was that word again. She must have said boundaries 50 times in that session. Boundaries aren't walls, she said. They're property lines. They say, this is mine to manage, that is yours. In a multi-generational home, you need very clear property lines around space, time, and roles. Roles? I asked. Who are you in this house? She said. Are you the child? The co-owner? The mum? All of the above? I said. Exactly, she replied. That's confusing, for you and for them. You might need to tell your parents in plain words, I am your daughter, and I am also an adult, and I am also Lily's mum. Sometimes those roles conflict. I need your help to respect my role as a parent and a co-owner. I nodded slowly. That sounds terrifying, I said. Most good boundary talks do, she said. She helped me make a list. Spaces. Upstairs equals primarily ours. Downstairs equals primarily theirs. Shared spaces equals kitchen, yard, living room. Rules. Knock before entering closed doors. Quiet hours. Fair use of living room and TV. Parenting. Non-negotiable rules for Lily. Food, safety, screens, discipline. Things grandparents can decide on when they're in charge. How to handle disagreements. Family meetings are great, she said, but they need structure, agendas, and you may need more than one. I left with homework. Write a draft house charter. Yes, like we were a startup. I rolled my eyes at the term. Then I went home and wrote it anyway. Chapter 8. The second family meeting, aka the real one. Okay, I said. Please don't laugh. I laid the printed pages on the dining table, like a nervous intern presenting to the board. Jake smiled encouragingly. Mum squinted. Dad said, What's this? A lease? Kind of, I thought. After our last family meeting, I said, I realised we talked a lot about feelings, which was good, but we didn't leave with anything concrete. So I made a draft of house agreements, a charter for our multi-generational home. Mum picked it up. At the top, in bold, the Miller family 3-generation house agreement. Jake had insisted on adding version 1.0 under it. So we can remind ourselves we can change it later, he'd said. Under that, sections. 1. Shared vision. Why we're doing multi-generational living. 2. Space and privacy. 3. Parenting and grandparent roles. 4. Money and bills. 5. Communication and family meetings. I know this looks very extra, I said, but I think we need it. Dad chuckled. It's very Emma, he said. Let's hear it. I read aloud. 1. Shared vision. We chose multi-generational living on purpose. We bought a house together, my parents, my husband, and me, to save money, support each other, and give Lily a 3-generation home. We agree that we want this to be long-term and healthy for everyone. We agree that everybody's privacy, autonomy, and dignity matter. Grandparents, parents, and child. Mum dabbed at her eyes. That's nice, she said. We moved to 2, space and privacy. Upstairs, bedrooms and hallway, is primarily Jake and Emma's space. Downstairs bedroom is primarily Mum and Dad's space. Shared spaces, kitchen, living room, dining room, yard, belong to all of us. We will knock before entering any closed bedroom door, and we won't enter if we're asked not to. We will not just pop in to each other's bedrooms without texting or knocking first. I looked at my mother very pointedly at just pop in. She actually laughed. Okay, she said. I can do that. I will try to do that. We went on. The living room will be treated as a shared space. We'll make a weekly schedule if needed for big events, games, movie nights, and talk about it ahead of time so no one gets kicked out mid-show. Dad held up his hand. I agree in principle, he said. But if it's the Super Bowl, all bets are off. We negotiated a Super Bowl exception. Then came 3, parenting and grandparent roles. This was the big one. Emma and Jake are Lily's parents. They have the final say on rules related to safety, food, sleep, medical decisions, discipline, and screen time. When grandparents are babysitting, they will do their best to follow the parents' non-negotiable rules. If they strongly disagree with a rule, they will bring it up in a calm conversation later, not in front of Lily. Grandparents are more than babysitters. They are allowed to have their own traditions and fun within the family's values. For example, special stories at bedtime, certain treats at designated times, special outings, as long as they don't undermine the parents' core rules. Mum exhaled. That feels fair, she said slowly. I don't like the idea that I can never give my granddaughter a cookie. You can, I said. We just want to know when, and not have it be right before dinner after we said no. We added a very specific line. No new foods, drinks, or shows for Lily without asking parents first. Especially juice, I added, looking at Mum. She smiled sheepishly. Fair, she said. We covered 4, money and bills. We already had a system, half the mortgage from us, half from them. We decided to use a shared budgeting app for utilities and groceries, so we could see the numbers in one place instead of guessing. Finally, 5. Communication and family meetings. We agree to have a short house check-in once a month for 20 to 30 minutes. We will use this time to talk about what's working, what's not, and any changes we need to make. We agree not to save up resentments for months and then explode. We'll try to talk sooner, even if it's awkward. When I finished, my heart was pounding. I looked up. "Well?" I said. Jake nodded. "I'm in," he said. 1000%. Dad rubbed his chin. "It feels a little corporate," he said. "Like we're running a 3-generation startup." "We kind of are," I said. He smiled. "You're not wrong," he said. "And honestly, this is more talking and planning than my parents ever did about anything. So, yeah, I'm in too." Mum reached for my hand. "I wish we'd had something like this when we lived with Grandma for 6 months after your dad lost his job," she said. "It might have saved some relationships." We all signed the bottom. It felt silly and sacred at the same time. The Miller Family 3-Generation House Agreement, version 1.0, went up on the fridge. We took a picture of it and put it in the family group chat. Underneath, Jake wrote, "House rules greater than unspoken resentment. Love your nerdy, multi-generational family." I laughed. For the first time, our 3-generation home felt less like an accident and more like a project we were building together. Chapter 9. When it actually starts to work. Boundaries didn't turn our multi-generational home into a Hallmark movie overnight. They did make it livable. The first real test came a week later. Jake and I were having a dumb argument upstairs about who forgot to switch the laundry. Voices were raised, not yelling, but not quiet. There was a knock on the door. Mum's voice muffled. "You guys okay?" she called. Jake and I looked at each other. Old instinct said, freeze, pretend everything is fine, change the subject forever. New plan said, use the agreement. "We're okay, Mum," I called back. "Just talking loudly. We'll come down in a bit." There was a pause. "Okay," she said. "Text if you need anything. I'll respect the closed door." Jake grinned at me. "Wow," he whispered. "Look at that. Boundaries in action." We both started laughing. The argument dissolved. Another time, I walked into the kitchen and saw Lily watching a cartoon on the tablet while Dad sat next to her. He looked up guiltily. "My fault," he said quickly. "She asked, I caved. I was going to tell you." "How long has it been on?" I asked. 10 minutes, he said. "Timer's set for 20. I glanced at the screen. It was one of the shows on our approved list. "Okay," I said. "Thanks for telling me. Just turn it off when the timer goes off." He nodded. "Will do," he said. "Emma?" "Yeah?" "I like this better than sneaking juice," he said. I laughed. "Me too," I said. We started using the living room schedule. It was analog at first, a whiteboard by the TV. Sundays, 1 to 4 p.m, football with Dad, family welcome. Evenings, call it day by day. If Jake and I wanted a movie night, we wrote it down. Sometimes Dad would come in, see the board and say, "I'll watch the game in my room, you guys enjoy." Other times, we'd invite them to join us. It didn't feel like a turf war anymore. It felt like sharing. We had our first house check-in at the end of the month. No lasagna, just coffee and 20 minutes. "What's working?" I asked. "Shared meals," Mum said. "I love cooking for more than 2 again." "Grandparent babysitting," Jake said. "Lily adores you." "And date nights have become possible again." Dad chimed in. "The budgeting app," he said. "I like seeing where the money goes. Makes it feel more fair." "What's not working?" I asked. They hesitated. Sometimes I miss spontaneous visits, Mum admitted. I walk by your room and want to knock, but I worry I'm bothering you. I smiled. You can knock, I said. Just let us say, not now, without taking it personally. She nodded. Sometimes I still feel like a guest in the downstairs, Jake said. Like I can't sit at your table without an invitation. Dad frowned. That's not what we want, he said. We'll work on being more verbally welcoming. Come sit. Join us. That kind of thing. It was small stuff, but that's what multi-generational living is made of. Not big dramatic scenes. Daily tiny choices. Knock or walk in. Ask or assume. Listen or lecture. Slowly, our three-generation household shifted from constant friction to a lot of noise, a lot of love, and manageable friction. I'd come home from work and hear Lily giggling with Grandma in the kitchen, Jake and Dad arguing good-naturedly about which lawnmower is best, the dishwasher running, laundry going, the hum of 4 lives overlapping. Some nights, I'd stand in the hallway and just listen. 2 generations ahead of Lily, 1 generation below my parents, all in one American suburban house we somehow owned together. Messy, imperfect, real. Chapter 10. 1 year later in our 3-generation home. On the 1-year anniversary of closing on the house, we had cake, because in our family, everything important comes with carbs and candles. We gathered on the back deck. Mum, Dad, Jake, me, and a very sticky 2-year-old Lily. Happy house-iversary, Mum said, setting the cake down. We laughed. We ate. We watched Lily chase bubbles in the yard while the evening light turned the grass gold. It's kind of wild that it's working, Jake said quietly, sitting next to me on the steps. Kind of, I agreed. He nudged me with his shoulder. You know, I hated this at first, he said. The whole, we bought a house together, my parents, my husband and me thing. I know, I said. I felt like I'd failed, he admitted. Like I couldn't provide for my family without your parents' help. Like I was living in someone else's house. I looked at him. Do you still feel that way? I asked. He thought about it. Sometimes, he said honestly. On bad days. But mostly? Mostly it feels like we hacked the system. Housing is ridiculous. Childcare is ridiculous. Aging alone is scary. And we built something that works more often than it doesn't. He nodded toward my parents. Your mum and dad aren't just the in-laws down the hall anymore, he said. They're our co-adults, our little multi-generational team. I smiled. Multi-generational Avengers, I said. He snorted. Sure, he said. Grandma Hulk smashing juice boxes. We both laughed. Mum came out with her phone. Group photo, she said. 3 generations. We squished together on the steps. Dad set the timer and ran to get in the shot. The camera clicked. Later that night, after Lily was in bed, the house quiet, I scrolled through my phone and found that photo. Mum and Dad, shoulders touching, older than when they raised me, but still solid. Jake, hair a little thinner, eyes a little softer. Me, somewhere in the middle. Lily, sitting on my lap, cheeks round, hands clapping. 3 generations in one frame. 3 generations in one home. If you just saw that picture, you'd think, what a sweet American family drama. They must have it all figured out. You wouldn't see the thermostat fights, the juice battles, the nights Jake Googled, should we move out of multi-generational home at 2 a.m. The sessions in Dr. Lewis's office where I cried about being stuck in the middle. You also wouldn't see my mum holding Lily, so I could shower in peace on day 3 of motherhood. My dad quietly slipping Jake a beer after a hard day and saying, "You're doing a good job, son." The way the house feels safer during storms, with 4 adults and 1 small child under the same roof instead of 3 separate ones. If you're listening to this because you type something like multi-generational living gone wrong, living with parents as adults, or 3-generation home story time, here's what I'd tell you. Buying a house with your parents and living in a 3-generation household will not magically heal your family. It will amplify who you already are. If your family avoids hard conversations, multi-generational living will make that avoidance louder. If your family can learn to talk, to set boundaries, to apologize, multi-generational living can become an incredible source of support. If we could go back, here's what we'd do differently before buying the house. Talk honestly about money, aging, and expectations. Decide who gets what space and what privacy looks like. Agree that parents and adult children is not a permanent label. Sometimes we're just 4 adults. Make a draft of our house agreement before moving in, not a year later. But even doing it backwards, we found our way. 1 slow family meeting, 1 awkward boundary, 1 revised house rule at a time. We still argue. We still annoy each other. We still occasionally text in our group chat, "House meeting v 1.1?" But when I tuck Lily into bed and she says, "Night, Mummy," "Night, Daddy," "Night, Grandma," "Night, Grandpa," all in one breath, I know why we did this. We bought a house together, my parents, my husband, and me. We built a multi-generational home that is not perfect, but it's ours. And for now, for this chapter of our American family story, it's exactly where we're meant to be.